Hi artists and art enthusiasts, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, a big hello to you. My name's Ellie and I'm an art educator living in sunny, well most of the time sunny, Melbourne, Australia, and I share art tips and tutorials to get you creating. Now today's video is a little bit different than my other art videos in the fact that I'm going to be discussing the importance of using colour in your paintings, in particular complementary colours. Now while I'm discussing this, in the background on your screen I'm going to be painting this Australian landscape artwork of some rock formations out in the Pinnacles National Park in Western Australia. I was really lucky to be able to travel there and get some lovely photos. I've actually linked this reference photo in the description box below, so if you'd like to download it and paint it yourself, feel free to. And I did select this photo based upon the colour scheme, as it's quite clear the contrast of intense blue and the orange-brown colour scheme here. So as I discuss some of the terms, see if you can notice them as I actually paint the artwork. The content that I'll be discussing today, I'll be splitting it up into 5 parts, and you can find the timestamps for these in the description box below if you'd like to skip ahead to the next one. So firstly, I'm going to start off with a short introduction to complementary colour schemes, and then we'll move on to split complements. I'll also discuss simultaneous contrast, as well as rectangle or tetradic colour schemes, and then lastly, there's warm and cool colours. So number 1, a short introduction to complementary colour schemes. And do feel free to skip past this part if you already have an understanding of what complementary colour is and how it plays a part in your artwork or painting. So colour is such an important part to an artwork. So whether your work has a variety of colours with accompanying shades, tones and tints, or whether you're using like a simpler, more monochromatic colour scheme. Colour and colour schemes, and the colour schemes, which is the combination of the colour, it conveys symbolism, emotion and meaning, such as like white for peace or red for anger or love. Now the relationship and connection between colours, it's an important part of communicating meaning, as well as making the composition visually pleasing for the eye. So complementary colours are colours that are opposite from each other on the colour wheel, and because they are opposite, they complement, meaning that they work together or they contrast each other. So meaning they oppose or make each other stand out because of their strong differences. Sometimes complementary colours are also called contrasting colours, and these colours on the basic colour wheel I've shown here is we've got orange and blue, which is the colours that I'm working with here in this landscape artwork, and also green and red, and plus purple and yellow go together as well. So often colour schemes and paintings that use complementary colours, they intend to convey an energy or vitality in the work because of the vast differences and contrast in the colour hues. So why is it important for you to include complementary colours in your artwork? Well, firstly, it can help particular areas of your composition stand out. As we've just discussed these major differences in the colour, it draws the viewer's eye towards a particular area of the work. So an interesting fact is that there's a scientific reasoning behind why our eyes are drawn to complementary colours, and I'll link the resource below. And this is connected to the photoreceptor cells in our eyes. And this resource actually recommends to test this out by staring at a blue piece of paper for a couple of minutes and then quickly divert your eyes to a white wall, and you'll see very faintly the opposite or complementary colour of orange there. So really interesting and something that I recommend trying out for yourself. Secondly, the use of complementary colours spread out around your entire composition will help bring all the elements of your artwork together. And then the last thing is using a balanced amount of complementary colour will help keep your artwork balanced colour scheme wise. So this is because different colours emit different moods of energy, so such as yellow, which is quite energetic, light and lively, and purple, which is more calming, soothing, lush, or even rich. The split complement colour scheme is similar to complementary colours that we were just discussing. However, here 3 colours from the colour wheel are being applied. So one is the base colour, plus you've got 2 secondary colours. These secondary colours, they lie next to the base colour's complement. So for example, say blue is the base colour, the complement of blue is orange. And if we look at orange on the colour wheel, on either side of orange, on one side we've got red, orange, and on the other we've got yellow. So blue, red, orange, and yellow are the split complements. This colour combination is a great option to choose, as often the colour will work harmoniously together and it'll be less intense or harsh for the viewer. This is because those colours are still on the opposite side of the colour wheel, but they aren't direct opposites, so it leaves behind such a large contrast between them both. In an artwork, this can give you a little more scope to work with colour-wise, and if you are going for tints by adding white or various tones by adding grey, then you may wish to apply that to all of your selected split complement colours. Simultaneous contrast highlights the way that 2 colours interact with each other to change how we see or perceive them. So this happens when 2 colours that are opposite to each other in either colour hue, intensity or value is placed directly next to the other. So these colour values don't actually change themselves, but it is our eyes that see them differently once next to each other. Now this is due to the underlying colour hues that make up the colour themselves. An example of this is if we have the colour red and we put a square swatch of it into a blue composition, the colour brightness and intensity will differ than if we put it into a yellow composition. The basis of the colour scheme is comparison, so here you only change the appearance of a particular colour hue if it is compared to something else. This can be particularly useful to know when painting because it can help you have greater control over your colour palette and how the colours will act and interact next to each other. Some tips that I recommend when using this scheme is that if you want a particular area to appear lighter, paint a darker colour next to it, and the same goes for the other way around. So if you want an area to appear darker, then paint a lighter colour next to it. You can use a complementary colour cast for shadows in your painting. So if your subject matter has yellow in it, try using some purples very faintly or mixed within the colour of the shadow, like it could be a grey or a dark brown. Try adding some purple into that. And this was done a lot by many Impressionist artists. So have a look at some Impressionist artworks as well to see how that's been done. And you can try and have a go at copying that into your own work within the shadows. In your artwork, try placing your colour against a white or black to change the intensity of the colour. You could use space around your subject matter to paint the complementary colour of the subject in order to intensify and directly contrast the colours as well. So rectangle or tetradic colour scheme. So this colour scheme uses two pairs of complementary colour sets that are next to each other on the colour wheel, and they create a rectangle shape. So for example, if you select red and green, then you also need to select blue and orange as the second pairs. The pairs don't necessarily need to be evenly spaced out on the colour wheel, as long as they are both complements to each other. So ensure that when selecting your colours that they do create that rectangle shape, and this is how you'll know that you're using this colour scheme. So the impact of having 4 dominant colours can make this colour scheme appear quite aggressive, where there's a high amount of tension that's equally distributed between all 4 colours. This rectangle scheme is the trickiest of them to balance out, to have all your colours harmoniously work together, as there's just so many of them playing an important role. So the best way to make this colour scheme work is to just select one of the colours that will be the dominant colours, and then have the other 3 as supplementary colours and that are used more discreetly. So for example, from the colours that we selected beforehand, we might want to use blue as a dominant colour and still implement green, red and orange into the composition, but we could use them in only smaller areas or dilute the paint depending on the paint that you're using. You could also even add white to create a tint or black for a shade and use them a little more hidden in the background. The last area of discussion is warm and cool colours. And another way of using and organising colour in your artwork is to use warm colours together and also cool colours together. So this is called cool colour harmony when there are no warm colours in the artwork or the composition, and warm colour harmony when there are no cool colours. So these colours are organised by dividing lines that split the two on the colour wheel. So the colours that sit under the cool and warm categories have been debated by various theorists, but in general the warm colours are yellow, orange and red. So these fall under the warm category, and green, blue and purple generally fall under the cool category. So the purple is debated a little more, as it is a mix of a cool and a warm colour. So the more cool in your purple mix, it will be classed as a cool colour, and the more warm that there is, it would be a warmer colour. So why is it important to know about this when painting and choosing your colour scheme? Well, depending on the mood and atmosphere that you want to create in your artwork, it will depend on the colours that you use. So using an entirely cool or an entirely warm colour palette is one single tool that you can apply to immediately enable your viewer to feel a particular emotion. So for example, you might want your landscape scene to feel particularly soothing and calming to your viewer, so you may select colours such as a pastel blue or lavender. So that's the end of our video today. If you enjoyed it, please give me a big thumbs up by hitting the like button, subscribe for more weekly content like this, and let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more videos like this where I discuss colour theory. I hope that you enjoyed seeing me paint this artwork of the pinnacles in Western Australia as I discuss this, and I look forward to seeing you in the comments below. Until next week, take care of yourself, stay safe, and goodbye.